for you to be able to understand why I'm so passionate with the roots, it's because when I was growing up as a young girl, I was in a family where my father was there, my mother was there, and I had a full family. But now, if I look back where my father was coming from and where my mother was coming from, these two people really loved each other, but their backgrounds were not of the same. Because my father, where he came from, the family was so passionate about being together. The sisters, the brothers, they used to make sure, my father used to make sure every month, at the end of the month, he will bring them together and their children and be able to become one. But from my mother's side, that was not something that people saw, because we only knew about my auntie, the sister of my mother, and they really loved each other. But apart from that, these other aunties were people that, unless they come to our home, then you will be able to, that's where now you say, ah, this is my auntie, my cousin from, now you it, there was a challenge at my mother's side. Now, when I looked at, after my father dying, when my mother now became, um she became a widow, when this love thing now became a problem, I started realizing that my mother's root was, she didn't have that from her family, because I expected her to pick this with her own family, but it didn't flow. Because you see, now after my father died, now she started now doing her own things, because it wasn't something that was in her. Because I was assuming, if it was my father, maybe we could have still continued doing the family thing, we would have stayed together. So now we are left with my mother and my siblings. Now this thing of not being together grew for us, because now myself and my sisters and my brother were separated. Now I started going to my cousin's place. So you will see, myself and my siblings, we are not close. We are not that close all together. So you will find, there is, when we sit down, you will realize we only have a conversation at a particular minutes. Yani, it's not something that there are siblings that I would see, they will sit down, wapige story, wapige story, si hatunanga hiyo. So my major issue with the roots was that, when now I was growing up as a young girl and I didn't have this love, I ended up becoming a young mother, because when I dated this man that was the father of my daughter, I was looking for my father in him. I was looking for love. I was looking for that dad who used to come and buy me. I would ask anything and my dad would. So I wasn't looking for a boyfriend per se, but it came with a boyfriend. And when I ended up in his hands, he was more old. I never wanted to date somebody who was my age mate. I wanted to date somebody who was older than me, so that I would find my father in that person and also find a boyfriend, because I felt I really needed love, because there was too much love from my father. So when I started dating this man, I even didn't ask where he's coming from. I didn't ask if he had a family. Or when he started buying me clothes, making my hair, making sure that I'm comfortable, I said, ah, this is the right man. This is like my father. So I started seeing a father in him, and not seeing a boyfriend and the things that will come with the boyfriend thing. By the time I'm getting pregnant, now I got confused, because now I was asking, my mother now realized I'm pregnant, and now she's becoming now hard on me, and she's telling me why. And now I realized this man was married. I didn't know he was married, but now I've fallen in love. He's buying me things, he's gifting me things here and there, and I'm like, it's not a big issue. So for me, I didn't see the issue thereafter. I was just seeing what I was looking for, and mine was more of love. And this love did not bring anything nice apart, because when, after getting now the my baby, when I was now became pregnant, this is where now I saw the true colors of this man, because now I was still at home. He will not marry me because he's married. He will not take me from just being a girlfriend. And I had to fall in love and stay in that position because I didn't know anything, because I'm from school. This is the first man I've gotten to. This is, after that, I'm pregnant. Where do I go? And now my mother is pushing me. You have to get a job. You have to take care of me. I can't stay here and start looking after your child. You have to take care of your own child. You have to be able to. Now, the pressures of me, even I didn't have time to date correctly, because if I dated correctly, I could have known where this man is coming from, where if what he's all about in my life. And also, I would sit down and tell myself, yes, I'm looking for a father figure. Is it right looking for a father figure in this person? Is it right for me to be able to look for love in this person? I didn't ask those questions. And that's why the roots are really important, because if I went ahead and looked out for the roots, I wouldn't be where I am. Because you see now, I have a baby. This man is married. I am at my mother's house. Nitaenda wapi? So I had to face this life the way it was coming. And that is why now I was looking for a job. And you see now, I left my daughter at a young age. So these things are following themselves. They are piling themselves because I didn't do the right thing when I started dating this man. Because if I started dating this man, maybe even if I would have gone outside the country, I would have gone with the right agenda, with knowing that I'm going and I'll still come back to my family. I'll still come back to my husband, or we would go together as a family. But now I'm going so that my daughter will get a good education. I would be able to come back and set myself. And these things came early for me, because now I can't reverse the things that were done. Because if for example, if my mother stayed at home after my dad died and took care of us and told us this is right, this is wrong, be able to raise us in the right way, I wouldn't have gone to look for love somewhere else. And my mother would have taught me, now you see, now when your father left, we were doing family runs, we were going out together, we would have continued with that, but we didn't continue. So I was looking for those things somewhere else. So with the encounters that I've been having in my life, the problem was deep from the roots, because the mistakes that I made after getting pregnant, now leaving my daughter, coming back, even my daughter rebelled, because when I came back, she was not the same person I left. And now when you look at her right now, she's 15 years old, there are things that you see, the roots are on her, because there's that thing of leaving her, because I left her when she was 1 year and something, and I came back when she was almost 5 years. So that impact is still in her. And you know, when you are a child, that is when things are in your mind. Now she kept on remembering that I left her. She kept on saying, "Mambo uliniacha." You know, those are the things that my daughter feels, and some of the things that she experienced. Even until now, it's the time now she is learning to let go, because now when she was a young girl, I couldn't have explained the situation, but now I tell her, you know why I left? Because of this and this, and I left because of you, to be able to, now you look at yourself, you are in a good school, you are the way you are right now, it's because of the sacrifices that I made. And later on, when I was growing, I really now started looking for God, because now I saw I don't have my mother. The life that I thought that I would get with this man is not the life now I'm getting. And now now the only person who helped me now go back to God was my auntie, my late aunt, my mother's sister, because she got born again and she now started going to church. So when we used to live with her, we had to go to church. It was a by force thing. But when I was living with my mother, going to church I was a Catholic. So I used to go. If it is service ya saa mbili mpaka saa tatu, you have to go kwa hiyo service ya saa mbili. Na by saa mbili saa tatu na nusu uko kwa nyumba. Now church was, nilikuwa naenda because my mother used to force me. I didn't go. But when now I went to my auntie's place, now I started understanding what is going to church all about. But still, I was young. I want to do my own things. But still, naona nataka kujificha kwa kanisa kidogo kidogo. And after now, finishing school and now starting my own life, I started looking for a church that is word-based, a church that I could grow with, a church that people could tell me my mistakes and be able to understand where I am, what I will make right for myself. And by the way, nimezurura kwa makanisa nikitafuta huyu Mungu. Nimezurura to a point that nilifika mahali I said, enough is enough. I will stay in the house mpaka Mungu anilete the right church. I wanted the right church where I would feel comfortable. I would be able to maybe talk to my pastor and be able to have a relationship with people around me. Yani Mungu anilete mahali nitapata rest. And you know what? God is faithful. As I was sitting at one time at home, God told me, go to Florence. I said, Florence? Nenda kufanya nini Mungu? But at that particular time, Mungu alikuwa amenitoa. Nimefanya kazi, I've established myself. Mama yangu amekufa. I don't have anybody to talk to. Now, I'm looking to where to go. Nilikuwa na give up. I was almost in depression. But I said, let me go and look for my friend. Because at that particular time, she was my friend. I went to Florence. I went and told her, Florence, I really need to talk to you. I'm giving up. So she told me where she was staying. I came to Umoja. And I found her in Umoja. And we talked about how life has been, how difficult it has been, how now I want to give up. I don't know where to start. I had a car by that time. I wanted to sell that car to start my life. Things were not working out for me. And I told her, you know what? I've come with one message, that you need to open a church. You need to open a church because I told God, if I don't get the right church, mi siendi kanisa tena. And to my surprise, she had that calling. Nia alikuwa anakataa, alikuwa anasema, bado time, it is not my timing, nini. But I told her, the minute you will open that church, I will be maybe your first or your second member in that church. And when she opened, I think I went the second or the third Sunday. And since then, till today, mi ni mshirika hapo. Yes, before I used to get saved. Naokoka na backslide because of the things that I was facing. But when I went to her, my salvation stuck like glue. Yani sikuwa na reason ya kutaka kurudi kufanya kenye nilikuwa nataka, because the name Comfort is what I got. The name Comfort is what it is right now. So when I was in this ministry, I say to God, I want to touch somebody. I want to talk about these roots that has been in my life, because nikiangalia life yangu, the things that I did not do right, it's because of where I came from. If my mother and my father dated correctly, I don't know. I don't want to judge them, but I said, if I look back, my mother and my father and my mother didn't date correctly. Because if my father knew where my mother was coming from and my mother knew where my father was coming from, hii kitu ya mama yangu kukosa love kwa watoto wake ama kukosa time grow, ingekuwa ni kitu angetaka kukuwa nayo. And my father will have seen the things that my mother was doing or didn't do, because of course when you're dating, you see some things that maybe your spouse is doing. You would feel that your spouse maybe hapendi kuomba, ama anapenda kelele, ama those are the things that when you're dating, there are things that you need to look into. So when they were dating, my father was a drunkard at that particular time when they were dating, and my mother also used to drink. So ni walevi wawili walikutana and they started a family together. So you can imagine most of the times the conversations were amekuja amelewa, wameletana juu, kugombana. So I think if I look back, the only time maybe they had this family thing is when we used to go and meet my cousins and my aunties. But tukiwa kwa nyumba hakukuwa anything like that. My father was just being my father, my mother was just being my mother, and my father was the provider. And my father, we knew my father as a provider because we would ask anything, my mother would tell her, uliza daddy, uliza daddy. So anything we would have wanted was my dad to provide for us. And my father would go from morning akuje jioni. The only thing my dad would come and ask, umefanya homework and all those things. The time we would spend with my father is this one time, maybe weekend, ametupeleka lunch mahali, ama ametupeleka kwa aunties. Those are the times that we had family time. But in our home, I never saw that thing. I never saw that thing, because if my mother and my father dated and saw this was a problem, they could have worked that out. They could have sat down and said, unajua nini, we need to bring this thing to our home. So when my father left, now my mother never left, decided to continue with that thing. So for me, if I look back, I said that if my mother took the right path, and this was in her roots, akizaliwa mahali ametoka kwa familia yao, kama angekuwa na roots za kuweza kushikilia hiyo familia, angeishikilia sisi watoto na to grow being different people. Hatungeangalia makosa zenye walikuwa nafanya, but she would have corrected some of the mistakes within our family. And even after that, when I now left my mother and became a mother to my daughter, hata mimi singewacha mtoto wangu, ningekaa nijue now I need to make sure that even if I'm leaving my daughter, I'm leaving her with understanding ya kujua now I'm going to work and I'm doing this so that you can be able to get school fees and other things. By the time tunafika mahali pa kuhavi conversations, maana ni ukweli mamangu alienda kunitafutia a better life. But now I'm coming to explain to her after 5 years. Sasa mtoto wa 5 years anaelewa ulikuwa umeenda job kufanya. So she didn't understand. So you see, this is a root thing, because siku understand how to do things the right way when I was leaving my mother. My mother also didn't know how to do things with her own family. So this thing, if I look at it now, I look most of my friends, I look most of people that I know. When I was when I was working in the hotel industries, in the hotel industry there you meet so many different people. You meet people backgrounds zao hata wengine hawajui wametoka wapi. They don't understand things. So when you listen to people, unapata mtu anakuja to job because ataki kukaa home. Mtu ametoka, wengine ni married, wengine ni singles, wengine wako na lifestyle ingine tofauti na yenye wewe unajua. So when you meet with these people and sit down, I decided to start now talking to people. Those people who know me from the hotel industry, they know I like nini. Yani mimi napenda kuongelesha watu, napenda kusikiza watu. Like a counselor, I really like counseling people. Now, when I was in the hotel industry, this passion now became more. Because now we'll sit with people, mtu akwambie shida zako, akwambie shida zako, akwambie ametoka wapi, yeye na bibi yake, ama yeye na bwana yake, ama yeye mahali yuko, zile struggles anapatana. And if you look down, you will find they all coming from. There was an incident where there was a friend. He was my junior and still was a friend, because most of the people that I've worked with, they were my friends, more of colleagues. So we'll meet somebody, there's a friend of mine. This guy used to drink a lot, and this guy would sleep outside. So there's a time I told him, hivyo venye unafanya, do you think this thing your wife will be doing the same thing? Akasema bibi yangu hawezi kufanya kitu kama hiyo, atafanya aje? Nikamwambia, let me tell you, if you start doing something, just remember this universe is round. You will find her doing that thing. Akakata. After 2 months, now he started drinking more than how he was. Then I started asking, anakosa job, anakuja late. Now, ikafika mahali nikamwambia, sasa ukiendelea hivi mimi nitakufuta job, kwa sababu I can't be covering you up. Unakuja job late, sometimes hata sina mtu wa kucover hiyo shift, ni mimi peke yangu. And when I also had a boss who would ask me, kwani uko peke yako? I'm like, yeah, nimemtuma ako mahali, kumbe I'm covering na hata hujaingia shift. Then this guy nikamwambia, now you have to tell me the truth. Akaniambia, now I found out that my wife was cheating upon me. I said, this is the thing that I was telling you about. Nikamwambia, how did it start? Akasema, unaona venye sasa si tunakuja shift, because we had a shift from morning till 5, and then people coming from 5 till 2 o'clock in the morning. The wife took advantage of that, and akaenda akapata kumbe the person the wife was cheating on was somebody si wambali, ni wa karibu, because hata hiyo 2 o'clock angempata kwa nyumba. So alikuwa anashindwa alikuwa anamcheat saa ngapi. So this guy, that thing really hurted him, because ni kitu hakuwahi fikiria. Of course nobody plans for those bad moments, but it happened and it really hit him hard, because sasa akakuwa mlevi, akafukuza ule bibi, akamwambia now he can't. And you remember, sisi wanadamu ni wa selfish. This guy was also doing the same thing the wife was doing. So mimi nikamkalisha, nikamuuliza, let me ask you, why would you not forgive your wife? Because you do. Na yeye akijua zile vitu ulikuwa unafanya, if somebody just sits down and tells your wife what you are doing, what will happen? Akasema hata juu. Nikamwambia, let me tell you, nothing is hidden, and if God wants to expose you, he will expose you. So this guy akakaa akafikiria kona nani ukweli, akaenda akakalisha bibi yake chini, akamwambia they start all over again. Na akakaa chini akasema, akakaa chini akaanza kufikiria, mbona amekuwa na weakness ya kulala na wanawake. Akakaa chini akasema lazima try to work on this issue. Akakaa akafikiria, later on ilitoka kwa upande ya baba yake, the roots, so akapata kumbe ni shida ange deal nayo wakati ilianza. Yeye alichukulia ni kawaida. Most of us tunachukulia kugombana ni kawaida, kupigana ni kawaida, hasira ni kawaida, separation ni kawaida. No, si kawaida. It is not kawaida. We shouldn't take things kawaida, because him being with that behavior haikuwa kawaida. And you see now, out of that, God had to do it on a painful level ndio awachane na hiyo kitu anafanya. Because if you look at now, kama hangefanya bibi yake a cheat, maybe mwanaume hange change. But now it hit him very hard and painful for him to change from that particular time. So it changed, but bado alibaki na uchungu. You know, men wakifanyiwa kitu ni uchungu sana kuliko when us women tukifanyiwa kitu. They want us to go cry and then akuja kwambia, oh babe, ilifanyika, unajua nini. But when it is, ifika pande ya mwanaume, akalisha marafiki, akalisha the whole, karibu ite nchi mzima, ndio sasa afeel ni kama amefanya the right decision ama bado. So this guy, ili take a lot for him to be able to forgive this lady, to a point he left the country. He supported the wife because they had a kid, but ndio arudi mahali alikuwa, it took time. But nikarudi nikamwelezea, remember, you caused it because unalipia zile vitu ulikuwa unafanya. Like I've just talked about the issue with the friend that who had he was a cheater. He was doing these things knowing it's for his own pleasure. There is also a friend of mine, we were talking about a cousin that didn't believe in marriage, like completely. Yeah, hajai believe kuoa, like yeye ukimwambia kuoa na kuuliza hiyo ni nini. So what he does is he gets women pregnant and raise the children. So yeye ukikuja kwake when you're dating and then uanze kukani kama unataka kuolewa kwake it does not sound well. That's now where he becomes somebody else. When mkianza tu hivi kidogo kidogo, mkifika mahali unataka kukuwa serious ati tuende muone parents, hiyo kitu inamtoka haraka sana. So I was asking the friend now, what happened? Akasema the mother and the father separated. when he was young, and it wasn't a good separation. It was a very hostile separation that waliachwa na mama yake na baba yake akawa deny. Kwanza yeye alidinaiwa vibaya sana. So when that thing happened, alibeba when he was a young, akona mamake venye ana struggle na hiyo issue ya kuwa raise and everything. So wakati alifika sasa kukuwa mtu mzima, hiyo kitu ikamfanya akakuwa na ile uchungu ya kuona marriage does not work. If kama ya babake na mamake haikuwork, how will yake ita work? So that is one of the things that makes some people, ukipata watu huku nje hawawani and they don't want to go deep into marriages, it's because their family did not work. And for him later on, when now he has raised a boy, and this boy is growing and asking questions, sasa inamchanganya because he does not know what to answer. Hajui atajibu nini, because vitu zingine anauliza juu ya the grandfather, the grandmother, but because of bitterness hataki kuiongelelea. So that is also an issue. When people are not getting married, what was the problem? Where were the roots? Because if you look at the roots of where this person is coming from, he didn't believe in marriage because his father did not. The family from the mother and the father didn't work out. So yeah, anafikiria hata ikifika kwake haita work out. Another issue is when you get people who fight. There's a day I was telling a friend that wasichana wa reggae ati akikutana na chali hampigi, hakuna mapenzi. So you can imagine tumefikisha mahali where you want to be beaten so that that guy can prove that they love you. Hiyo sasa ni nini surely? So for me, beating somebody is not love. There is nothing like ati nikikupiga ndio nakupenda. But kuna watu sahi as we speak hawakai kwa relationship asema huyu anipendi, anipigangi venye alikuwa ananipiga tukianza. And I'm wondering, okay, where, in which place or in which book or in which part of the Bible is written beating a woman is giving out love? So this is also a problem. It's a root. Ukijana maybe alikaa kwao, akaona baba yake anapendanga mama yake na mama yake anakaa. So wewe akiwa in a relationship and then akuwe na huyu girlfriend apigwe atoke anashindwa, huyu understand ni love. So some of us think that being beaten is love. It's not. I also saw somewhere in the TV where a lady was having a relationship with a certain guy, and this guy was insecure. Unajua vitu zingine ni insecurities of the things that you are doing or of the things that you have seen being done. So this girl alikuwa anapigwa to a point. This girl mara mwisho aliona atauliwa. Sasa akona hii, sasa I think something alipigwa paka kwa kichwa. I think aka lose conscience to a point that wakati aliamka aka realize hii si mapenzi anymore. This guy was about to kill me. Na ni ukweli, because the last thing alimfungia kwa nyumba, she was not even able to access a phone to call the mother or to do anything. So the girl said, hapana, hii sasa imekuwa ni too much. Ukijana because the guy left and told her, nikishika kisu nitakudunga dunga. So aka realize nikidungwa sasa mapenzi itabaki nao aje. Now she got to get a way of reaching to the mom and told the mom, if you don't come and pick me, utapata maiti. The mom went and took the lady. Now she was giving her story and saying, iyo mambo ya kusema ati lazima uchapwe ndio ukuwe ati unapendwa, hapana. We should come out from that thing because it's like a devil. It's a devilish thing that tumejiekea kwa, because it's spiritual. Because ni nani wapi ushaiona ati akikupiga ndio. Hata kwa mwalimu, okay, in school we used to be beaten, but mwalimu atakuchapa viboko 2 ama 3, but with a reason. Huyo anakuchapa akikwambia and when I read at the Bible I see love haina mahali imesema when you're beaten that is love. Love is something different. Love is, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. Imagine how God loved us and gave his only begotten son. Wewe unachapwa ati ukiambiwa unapendwa ati how? That does not even work with me. So when I look at it that this man is coming from a roots where yeye alikuwa anaona baba yake akichapa mama yake na mama yake anakaa. So that is a problem. It is a problem that needs to be tackled out. There are also issues where people insult. There is people we call narcissist. Narcissist is a problem, and it's a very big problem in our today's society, because a narcissist, most of the people are hearing, huyo ni narcissist. Nashindo anajuaje ni narcissist? Because of the characters that that person has. That person is insecure. Huyo mtu hataki uende mahali. That person will call you 100 times. That person feel. And you know, this narcissist, they do things that they don't want other people to do. So when they realize that you are doing them now, this person become violent. They will even beat you, and then later on apologize. Atakuja kubembeleza kuambie, no, it wasn't me. Anze kuekelea shaitani. Some of the things tunaekelea shaitani, by the way, ni uongo. It's because of the characters that we have said it is okay to stay with. Because some of the characters we are, tunaanza tu pole pole. Me, I tell somebody, for you to become an alcoholic, it is not something that you are born with. You are born as a child, not knowing anything. So when you grow up, you start loving things. Like when you start loving, wacha nikunywe tu kidogo, hiyo kidogo inakuja inakuwa mingi, to a point that now you start drinking and feeling good about it. Now you start putting volumes. I was a point to go to in my life, nilifika karibu nikuwa drunkard. I used to drink every other day, because I was looking for something. Now naona hapa kwa pombe pia nitapata amani, which was wrong, because after drinking hizo miaka zote nilikunywa, nilikuja nikarealize hiyo pesa yote ningeweka, maybe sasa ningekuwa na shamba mahali, which some of the people says it doesn't make sense. But if I look, those days that I used to drink was a problem. It was the rules for my father, because my father used to drink, my mother used to drink. So me nilikuwa natafuta comfort in alcohol, which was not the right thing. So I'm looking at today's life and thinking that most of the things people are doing right now, there are people who are into drugs. Drugs is also a root issue, because utapata kuna mahali tu uliona ikifanywa. There are people who are smokers of bang. There are people who are smokers of cigarettes. Si kitu ulizaliwa nayo, ni kitu ulijifunza. And some of them, they become deep to a point that you need now maombi. Unakaa chini, now people have to take you to church for them to be able to see which deliverance inatoka wapi. There is a topic that my pastor was sharing about bloodline. Those things are there. Let's not assume that they are not there. Ati hizi ni vitu za kawaida. Hapana. When you are in a family where your mother or your father used to, I was telling a friend of mine, mzazi alikuwa anakunywa pombe, anakaa kwa bar, na mzazi anashindaga kwa kanisa, watoto wao hawezi fanana. Look at them. You find children outside there driving good cars, having good homes, it is the foundation and the roots of where they are coming from. Wewe kama mama yako alikuwa anashindanga ama baba yako alikuwa anashindanga kwa pombe, now ebu angalia maybe life yako ukipeleka, unaona kuna struggles zenye zilitokana huko, because now you are a drunkard. Unapata pesa lakini you cannot do anything. It's because of the bloodline. It is because of where you're coming from. It is because of the roots of that bloodline. That is what you are having today. But as a parent, you also need to understand it does not affect you alone. It will affect the children from your first generation to your fourth generation. These are things that maybe when my mother was dying, maybe mahali yuko, kama akona opportunity ya kusema angerudi back, maybe ni kitu angekuja kucorrect. So my root issue is, let's not realize when this thing is so deep, because dealing with something that is so deep, you will take time, you will take years to be able to correct this. Another example is when people don't communicate. It is also a root cause. Communication is really important. For me, I tell people, communication is one of the things that make marriage work or break. Because assume you're in a house where you and your husband, you as the husband and the wife, are seated. All of you are on phone. Watoto wamekaa hapo wanaangalia. Watoto watatafuta pia phone. You can imagine, maybe you're in a WhatsApp, mama yako anakuambia niletee maji, na mumekaa hapo na yeye. They cannot even tell you, Irene, go and pick for me this and this, anakuandikia kwa WhatsApp. What kind of an issue is that? It's a communication issue. You and your husband, you don't talk, you do the phone thing. And when you ask, it's when you're asking money. So let me ask, if you're in a relationship where you are only asking for money, iyo money iishe, utabaki ukiitisha nini? I tell people nowadays, if you're coming to a relationship because of sex, remove that sex. What is left? If you're coming to a relationship because of good looks, huyu mwanaume ama mwanamke itafika mahali azeeke, ebu toa hizo looks, then mutabaki na nini? But if you're in a relationship where you can communicate, you can sit down. Sometimes I say ni vizuri hata mko mnasengenya hata neighbor, ama mkiwa kwa gari mnasengenya watu wako kwa gari zingine. It's fun. You can wake up in the morning and do a road trip. Mtoke hapa mwende kama Murang'a ama Nyahururu ama Naivasha ama Kisumu, anywhere, and say tumeenda sisi wawili and leave. I look at the white people, what they do. Sometimes they say, this weekend we are going for dinner with no kids, ni hao wawili. So they go to dinner, they have that communication. Maybe kuna kitu alifanyiwa during the week, anambia, babe, I didn't like what you did here and there. Instead of talking in front of the kids, because you see, these root causes are things that we listen. When we are seated with our parents, mama yako na baba yako wamegombana, anambia, jana ulinifanya. So these things are things that we have to learn to go outside. Maybe mmeenda road trip, amjaenda mbali, mmesema leo tunaenda mahali fulani, go sit. Kuna kitu moja ukufanya, kuna kitu ingine. Now you have that communication, which will make it easy even for the children to have communication with you as the parents, because children will learn how to communicate when they're in the family, not outside the family. Tuache kuchukua kazi ya nyumbani tunaipeleka shuleni, because most of the parents have decided now the school will do what the parents have to do. Because you find people are saying, mi natafuta, I'm looking for these kids to go in good schools, but you forget, wakienda huko nje wanaenda kukutana na kina nani? Wanakutana na watu hata roots zao haziko karibu na mahali wewe huko. Wakienda wanaenda wanakuja wanachukua hizo vitu. Then they come, the child start now becoming abusive, insultive. They will do things that you've never even thought about. How do kids start smoking? Maybe maybe haujawahi kukuwa una smoke, even maybe you've not seen it from your family. But how are we raising our children today? Are we raising them, telling them, hata ukienda huko nje, remember, this family might have this issue. I talk to my daughter and tell my daughter, people are raised differently. Kuna watoto kwao hawajui shida ni nini. Akikuja shule anakuja na kila kitu. Wewe ukienda na kalamu moja ama mbili, you start comparing each other. Fulani yako na hii, mimi sina hii, but you don't know how their family is. Some families are struggling. Your child goes there and now comes home when they are a rebel, because they feel like ni kama you're not doing enough. You're not communicating to your children. You're not telling them. We have even shunned this topic of sex to our children. We want them to be taught in school. What do we know? The curriculum has changed. So we don't know what they are taught in school about sex. And you know, in school, they will follow what they have been told to. They will not expound to the whole topic. But when you're with your child, do you tell them what a relationship can be? What, when they meet a boy, how are they supposed to start it? Because if my mother told me, the first thing when you meet a man, you're supposed to know where they're coming from. You're supposed to tell them that you need to come and see my mother. Come, ndio mama yangu, kuna kitu wataona yenye mimi sitaona. But if you start outside there, you go, mmekutana kwa club, mme dance, mmefanya nini, mkitoka hapo, the only feeling that you will have after that is sex. Now, the only thing that will combine you is that sex. So you can imagine, kitu muko nayo hapo hata si kitu. It's not because they liked you. It's not because you like them. Some of you realizes that the man you are dating today or the woman you are dating today is because ulieka picha ya Beyonce kwa face yake. Now you're looking at her in a different way. Now ameamka asubuhi anakaa kama sijui nini. So you look at her and say, hii ni nini ama huyu ni nani? But now akona mpaka mtoto wako ama watoto wako wasema acha tu nikae. I was telling my pastor yesterday that some of us, or some of the people in relationships, you are married, but your husband or you are looking for your love outside there and you're already in marriage. So you can imagine you're looking for somebody else and already you have somebody who is there with you, who pays rent. You maybe even you're doing together, you're combining your efforts to pay for the rent or building a home for your kids. What foundation are you making for those children? Are you staying in a relationship, then after kids are grown up you separate? These kids will need you even after they have grown up. So what you need to do is be able to identify what your root cause is and be able to identify the problem that is in. Now, is there a solution to this? Yes, there is a solution to this, and the solution is start talking about it. Accept that you're in a problem, because one thing that I learned from a friend is acceptance. Even when you are HIV positive, they say for you to be able to stay more years, it's because of accepting yourself, because once it starts with you, the rest will flow. Now accept that you're in a relationship, in a marriage that has a problem. There is a root cause that you need. If it's something that you need to go back to your parents and start sorting it out, start there. If your parents are alive and you can go back and sit them down and tell them, Mommy, I want to know what this is and I need you to help me to tackle this. Yes. If you can't, now you can invite a woman of God or a man of God. Maybe you have a pastor you can directly talk to. Maybe you have a church where they have those cells that they talk about these issues. You can just look for even a friend who can be able to help you tackle this issue, because we start by talking. Like I said, communication is very important, and communication is talking about the issues that you have. Now you go to your mother and they will come up with a solution. You go to your pastor or a cell leader that is in your church who can be able to, who knows and understands these things, and be able now to start looking for where the problem started. And when you start now tackling this problem, you will understand how easy it is for you to be able to sit with somebody by starting with, I said, you start with the dating. When you start with dating, know this type of person you are dating. Want to know where are they coming from. Want to know who is their mother, who is their father. Are they coming from a blended family? Are they coming from a nuclear family, an extended family? What does their father do or their mother do? Where are they coming from? Wanatoka wapi? Wanatoka county gani? Uko kwa hiyo county, how is their surrounding? Those are the things that we are lazy of doing, and they are really important. Once you clean up your dating, then this is the time now you go to the right way of marriage. Not zile kamwiste. Start with now knowing huyu mtu atakuja. We start an introduction, their people come, they know your people. After now these things, hata kama kuna kitu mbaya ilikuwa ifanyike, do you know God comes in the right marriage? If you read the Bible and understand about what God speaks about the marriage and how he wants marriages to be, he says a man should love his wife like how Christ loved the church, and a woman supposed to submit. Na unaona hizi vitu mbili ndio shetani pia amezichukulia, akaonyesha mwanaume mambo ya love ni ngumu na submission kwa mwanamke ni ngumu. So you find most of the people when they are talking about marriages, a woman sometimes does not submit because he feels, this man cannot do this, the things that makes a woman automatically submit. And these are the issues that now in marriage, when you dig deeper and understand that you have sorted the roots, and now from dating now to marriage, then the family becomes free. Even the children that are born and raised in that family, now from the first generation to the fourth generation, things become smooth. And you can understand this by, if you go deep to those families that have I wouldn't say made it, there are problems in between and there are things that can be sorted out, but those family that tells you, I've been in a marriage for 15 years, 20 years, listen to their stories. They have stories that they can be able to help you grow and become somebody who will be able to raise the right family.